Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Joseph Mavericks. I'm a graphic designer by day and a content creator by night. In the past 2 years, I've published over 200 articles, mostly around the topics of productivity, self-improvement, and entrepreneurship. In this video, we're going to be talking about money. So what's your number? How much would you need in the bank to be able to stop working for somebody else right now? Most people answer this question with a very big number, right? 1 million, 2 million, $10 million. Everyone would like to have financial independence, but 99% of people confuse financial independence with passive income. The two sometimes work together, but they both mean something completely different. So here's a little refresher to start with. Financial independence is a term used to describe a situation where one has enough income or funds to pay for his or her living expenses for his entire life without having to be employed by anybody or depend on anybody. Passive income, on the other hand, is income earned without having to work for it. It usually requires a massive upfront investment in time to be able to create the framework that will later make you money while you sleep. And let's just be clear here, there's no magic recipe that gives you money without work. Most people who manage to create their own passive income that you see online got there by working their butt off first and then taking time off. And there's often a bit of a dichotomy between the sacrifices they probably had to go through and the amount of work they probably had to put in and the way they advertise their solutions to you. It's usually not sipping pina coladas on the beach and stuff like that. They didn't do that to get where they are today. So in this video, we'll focus on financial independence. So again, it's about making the amount of money you, and maybe your family, need to live up to a certain quality of life and making that money on your own. It doesn't mean you're making millions. It doesn't mean you're living in a mansion, owning a yacht, or that you have 10 Lamborghinis. It's not what it's about. What it's about is look at your monthly numbers right now. And it comes down to very simple math. How much is coming in versus how much is going out. If you have a 9-to-5 type of job and you're making a normal salary, chances are you don't need more money. You already have the income. You just need more freedom. And if you can find a way to sustain the lifestyle you have right now by making your own money instead of relying on your boss to send you a paycheck every month, then you've successfully created financial independence for yourself. So let's see how to do just that. So the first step is, how do you make your own money? The problem for a lot of people is to find a way to change their mindset about their current work situation. They can't really picture how to turn their professional activity into an autonomous framework. They have a hard time seeing what's possible through the entrepreneurship lens, basically. And to be frank, it often is really challenging to make the switch because it goes beyond leaving behind a guaranteed monthly paycheck with a bunch of employee benefits. This is about being on your own, with your own rules, your own schedule, your own self-discipline to get stuff done. And that can be extremely scary. Who knows what we're like when we're left to our own devices, right? So essentially the question is, how do you transpose a 9-to-5 job activity to a one-person company? If you want to stay in the same field, the same type of activity, the theory is usually pretty easy. A few examples are, if you work in graphic design, you can become a freelance designer. If you work as an accountant, you can switch to individual consulting. If you work as a coder, you can become a freelance coder. If you work as a manager, you can maybe start your own team/company, although then you're not on your own, but you get the gist of it. If you're actually unhappy with your job and you want to completely change your field of work, then the possibilities are endless. And the problem with that is that endless can actually be a total roadblock. When there are no rules, nothing to start from, no foundation, it can be pretty scary and hard to move forward. Here's an example. If I ask you to write about birds without using the word bird once right now, you're gonna get creative, you're gonna get ideas, you're gonna find ways to bypass the use of the word bird. But if I ask you to just write about anything and with no rules, you might find it harder to get creative. And you're gonna have to work to face that problem. But the thing is, there is a fine line between actually facing your problems and procrastinating. Many people want financial independence, but very few are willing to work for it. The theory can be rather easy, but the practice is honestly one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do in your career if you decide to go down that path. It requires a huge amount of self-discipline, motivation, and commitment. There's always a flip side with the stuff you don't want to do, and this time there's nobody else to do these things except you. Things like paperwork, accounting, things you used to give to the intern back at the office, it's over. There's no more intern. At the end of the day, the wish for independence needs to supersede all obstacles. That's the only way to start working on your own and getting a shot at making your own money. Once your vision becomes stronger than your procrastination, or your lack of skills, your fear, or any other obstacle that makes everybody else stop, then you can start that project. So in order to help you with that, let's look at long-term vision versus short-term vision. Consider this. We would all need at least $1 million to stop having to work for a boss. Over a lifetime, if you want to live a decent life, buy groceries, get an okay house, maybe a car, maybe change cars a few times, in the modern world, you definitely need more than $1 million to do that. And life is not getting cheaper day after day, right? But we don't need $1 million right now as a one-time payment. $1 million over a career of 40 years is $25,000 per year, which, number one, won't buy you anywhere near a millionaire lifestyle, and number two, is actually a very average salary. Here are 3 quick thumb rules for life in general that I believe in. Number 1, obstacles are temporary. Number 2, most things won't matter anymore in a few years. And number 3, holding long-term grudges destroys relationships. So we can easily conclude from those 3 rules that in life in general, it's good to think long-term, right? Things won't matter anymore that much in the long term, so don't get mad, okay? Relax. It's fine. So in life in general, you want to think long-term. But in the case of financial independence, thinking of your required paycheck on a smaller time frame is usually the best thing to do. Don't think in terms of how much you need right now to stop working and go sip pina coladas on the beach forever for the long term. Also, who wants to sip pina coladas on the beach forever? That's lame, that's boring. What are you gonna do? Sip for the rest of your life? But think in terms of how much you would need just next month and the month after that and after that. Most importantly, think of how you can create a system where you're able to generate that money for yourself every single month in the short term. Quick example here. Creating a one-person company is one of the best ways to start building a system for yourself, and it's usually a pretty straightforward process. All you need to do is usually, number 1, register your business. Number 2, open a bank account for it and deposit the minimum required capital in there, literally from $1 to a few $1,000s, depending on where you live. Where I live in Europe, it's really cheap. You can literally open a company with $1. And once that's done, the third step is pretty straightforward. Put money in that bank account, right? And how do you do that? Well, in whatever way you set for yourself, with the tips and tricks we just talked about in this video, right? So create content online, meet up with people, let your family and friends know, make phone calls, promote your services, make free content on platforms that pay you for it, like on youtube.com or medium.com where I write all my content. In most cases, from the business side of things, you won't have to pay taxes on your capital as long as you don't grow like crazy, and you will also be allowed a portion of your profits to be tax-free. Again, that's in most countries here in Europe. Plus, you'll get to pay corporate tax, which is usually much lower than the individual tax you're paying on your paycheck. You're not running a big risk here, so you can have fun and experiment. It's also worth noting that it's usually completely legal to run your own small company while still having a 9-to-5 job. Again, don't take my word for it, check your contract with your own employer, I'm not a lawyer or anything. So what this means is that if you're able to do that, it can be easier to work through a smooth transition from employed to self-employed. Feel things out first, and when you feel like you're ready, you can just quit your 9-to-5 and focus on your own business full time. So, little recap. Number 1, think short-term money, not long-term riches. But number 2, think long-term rewards, not short-term win. Let that sink in. Understand that the amount of work required to create a sustainable, consistent monthly paycheck for yourself is huge. It will take a while and it will build up over time. But the financial influx needs to start sooner than later, because that's how you climbed your way up to a healthy paycheck. Also, remember to not confuse financial independence with passive income. You do not need $1 million in the bank to be happy, you need freedom. You need to find a way to make a decent salary from your own work so you can choose what to do with your time, set what you said you were going to do when you were a kid, and maybe even inspire some of your friends to do the same. Thanks so much for watching this video. It means the world to me. It really does. Stay tuned for next week's video. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, drop a thumb up if that's what you like. And yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week. Enjoy the journey you're on.